What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel again. I am Kyle, the Limitless Power Sports Service Repair. What we're digging into today is a 2006 SV1000S. A friend of mine, he bought it secondhand, third hand, 10th hand, heck, I don't know. But he's having some clutch issues. Him and the customer he bought it from, they changed the clutch out. They put a Barnett clutch pack in there, a Kevlar one. I've noticed that he ran into some issues with his levers. These are some aftermarket levers that he had bought it with. They're probably off of Amazon. Problem was this one was actually missing the bushing in here, and it was digging in right here. It's kind of hard to see there, but digging in right there and causing the lever to kind of stay activated. He said he's got a little bit of slip, so I have already replaced it with stock levers. And today what we're going to do, we're going to dig into the clutch itself and check out to make sure they got the plates in the right order. So when the clutch has already been bled out, so when you grab the clutch and you put it in first gear, it wants to pull forward. I've raced these in the past with Moto ST Endurance Racing and a few other things, and I've never had one do that. I've worked on them in the shop, and I haven't had any actually do that when you grab the clutch and you put it in gear. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pull the lower off, we're gonna drain the oil. He does have a problem with the oil fill plug. The guy put copper wire around the threads and threaded it back in, so we're probably gonna have to Healy coil that. Pretty sucky job to do because you gotta get it pretty straight, put grease on your fitting, and then run oil through it to flush it out, just in case you may have gotten any particles in there. He does have fresh oil in this, so we're gonna go ahead and drain that out to a nice clean pan, put that into a container to hold on to it so we can fill it back up with that, because it is, like, I think the oil's got like 25 miles on it. So we're gonna jump into this thing, pull the clutch out, pull the lower off, pull the clutch out, drain the oil, and see if we can't figure out if maybe they have the clutch stack wrong, the way they put it back together, because there are 3 different fiber plates and 2 different type of steel plates that go in this kit. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and take out this drain bolt right here on the bottom. This would actually be on the left side if I'm pointing at it. It's kind of hard to see it on a very good light going on right now. That's a 14 millimeter drain pan bolt, and we'll just drain it into this clean container right here. We'll drain that out. That way when we pull the clutch cover off, we get just a little bit of residual that comes out. It doesn't come pouring out on us. All right, so we got the drain bolt out. You guys see it's draining in there. Here's the problem when it comes to putting this little copper washer or wrapping wire around your plug, trying to make it work. You see that? That was actually not even on there. It was stuck right on the very last thread, and what will happen, that will get in your bottom end. If that gets sucked up in the wrong thing, you can forget about it. So I definitely recommend do not try to do that. I understand people do it as a quick fix. Sometimes if you're in a bind, understandable, but just go ahead and fix this the right way. We'll have to check out the threads on it, jack it up, check the threads out, and probably end up running a Healy coil in there. You know, I do like time certs, but Healy coil is gonna work best for this. That way we don't have an issue with possible blowing this thing up. All right, so we drained the coolant out first, let it run all out, make sure the oil was out all the way. It's still dripping on just a little bit. I could get a little bit of residual coolant dripping down too. Took the side cover off. We'll end up cleaning all this up. The gasket looks really nice yet. We're gonna go ahead and probably just end up reusing the gasket. It's in nice shape. And now we're gonna go ahead and pull the clutch pack apart and start measuring the clutch plates and checking out the order that they have them in. So do it in a crisscross pattern and pull them all out slowly. You can pull them, you see people pull them out all the way. I prefer to do them a little bit at a time. That way we don't get a torque on any of the clutch boxes in there and we break any of that stuff apart. All right, so we got all the bolts out. Pull the front pressure plate off. Make sure you get the inner washer bearing. Make sure that's all there. Put it back together. You'll see that hangs kind of loose. As soon as I took that apart, this whole entire clutch pack pushed itself out. So definitely got to see what's going on with this. I'm just going to pull it all out and lay it. What I'm going to do, I'll lay it face down like this, so when I put them back in, they go in this order. Definitely does not look like the clutches have been soaked at all in any type of oil. You definitely want to always soak your clutches in oil for a little bit before you put them in. That way we don't run into any issues with premature wear, kind of what I think we're probably going to end up running into here. Then I'll have to take it out, measure the clutch stack all together, and then I'll grab a couple picks and pull that out and measure the full clutch stack and see what the comparison is to the this is the Barnett clutch kit, like I said, to the stock clutch stack. See what the difference is, because Like I said, I went to pull this out just now, and it definitely came out very, very weird. It like literally pushed itself out. And here's that other plate I was talking about. It's a little, it should, oh, I don't know, it should be a little bit different, a little bit wider. It goes around your judder springs back here in the back. We'll make sure those are correct. It looks like they are put in correct. Should have a flat one in the back, which I can see that they do, so if you can't get that one out here. Well, I can't get that one out, but anyways, and this one here, you can see it's got a little bit of curve to it. You want it, the concave, you want the screen outer edge going out towards you, so you want to put it in here back like that. Everything looks good. There's no grooves worn this. You can see where the plate's set on. It's a little bit, not bad. No grooves in the inner clutch hub. The outer clutch basket looks pretty good too. So now I'm going to go ahead and kind of take a look at all these plates we have here and start measuring them. You can see this one's a little bit different. It goes on the end. There should have been one that started out different on the inside, which should be, I believe, this one's going to be a little bit different or not. That might be the problem there. It's not different than what it's supposed to be. So we'll take a look at all that. All right, so what I was thinking about when I was taking it apart, they actually didn't have the last clutch plate offset, so they may be causing that binding up being all in one spot here, because it's supposed to be offset on the very end, which they didn't have that offset. So we're going to go ahead and start off and just go ahead and put this thing all back together how it belongs. All the plates are oiled up. I checked all the steel plates. It says it calls for 2.3 millimeter plates, but this one actually has all 2 mil plates, which kind of concerns me on that. But we're going to go ahead and start putting this back together. We're just going to go one steel or one friction. And then we're gonna go ahead and go with the one steel. And you just, of course, remember the first one's a thin plate. Super thin plate, and then we'll just go ahead and follow that all the way back to the very beginning. If I don't throw them around anymore. The bad part is I won't be able to start this up and test the theory until I get that oil plug Healy coiled, because I will not put copper wire on a bolt like that that goes in the lower end of this thing, just waiting for a catastrophic failure. So once again, you guys just see me alternate it back and forth. And my last fiber, you'll offset it just a little bit, one click there. And that should take care of that issue. Then we'll go ahead and take our push, well, it's not our push rod, but that and your flat washer, flat bearings and all that, and go ahead and put it back together, make sure it seats on there nice, make sure it all touches. There we go, that feels good. And we'll go ahead and reinstall our springs and our bolts, and we'll torque the bolts down to 8 Newton meters. All right, so we got the clutch back installed. We can see now it spins nice and freely right now. So that's great, because the problem was if you have this other plate in here, it's putting pressure on there. It's not offset how it's supposed to be. It's a little weird how that works. So hopefully this secure that problem when he grabs the clutch and it still wants to lurch forward once he has that in. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put the side case back on, we'll put all the bolts in, torque all those to 10 Newton meters, fill it back up with coolant, and then I'm probably going to do it off camera because I won't be able to get any angles to do a Healy coil on the bottom of that. And then we'll hopefully fire this thing up and we won't have that lurching forward anymore. All right, guys, I just got back from a ride on this SV1000. Started out really great, clutch worked really good. As time went on, the clutch started to heat up. I started getting a hard lever. The lever's really, really stiff up here, okay? So what that means is that we're having an issue up here in the return line or return orifice or whatever hole on the clutch itself. Now watch, I'm gonna go ahead and hook a tube up down here to the slave cylinder. I'm gonna pop that and you'll watch it just flow out of there, because I can feel it's really, really tight. It shouldn't be tight like that. It should have just a little bit of play, but right now you could give it gas once it got hot and it would just, RPMs would just shoot up. So you can see that's just, it's stiff as all get out. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that loose down there for you guys, and then we're gonna check out what's going on with the master cylinder for the clutch. All right, so I got my makeshift brake bleeder bottle hooked up here. At least I can't get it to stay up here, so I have to hold on to it here. But anyways, watch what happens here. No pressure on the lever, and you see all that fluid shoot up? That just released the pressure off the clutch on the other side. So now we'll come up here. I got it broke open still, and now you can see there's a little bit of play in the lever. So we're gonna go ahead and squeeze it. Crack it open, squeeze it, make sure there's no air in there. Looks good, tighten it back up. Sorry for the bad angle. We'll go ahead and squeeze this lever again, pump it up a few times. Now you can see how I got that little bit of play compared to the last time I had none at all. So now it's so easy to pull in. So like I said, what that indicates is basically it happens with your brake reservoirs also. The return orifice will get clogged in the master, and it won't let the pressure come back up through the master cylinder back up to the reservoir, creating pressure, making your brakes close, or making your clutch plates or your clutch slave cylinder push out and hold the clutch open, making the clutch slip. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this apart. I'm gonna pull off the master cylinder. I'm gonna pull it all apart, clean it all out, and see what we can find. All right, we got the lever off, or we got the reservoir and the lever off here. So what we're gonna go ahead and take a 10 millimeter. That's a 12. Where's my 10? I just grabbed one. 10 millimeter here. We're gonna go ahead and take the lever off. These are brand new OEM levers I had just put on here because those other ones were a cheaper Amazon aftermarket, and the pin didn't have a bushing in it, and the pin was wearing into the handle itself, causing the clutch to stay on also. So multiple issues here. So there's the new bushing, there's that. We're gonna go ahead and pop the top off of this guy here, empty out any leftover. You can see it's got some gunk down in there. So let's grab a Phillips head screwdriver also, number 2 Phillips head. We'll pop the reservoir off. You can just see kind of the old brake or clutch fluid that was in there. So it's probably gonna, that's a good telltale sign that the return orifice in here is clogged up. As you can see, it's got a ton of stuff in here. Right there's a return. So what's happening is it's blocking that, not letting the pressure come back up into the reservoir, causing that clutch to, the clutch slave cylinder to push out as it heats up and stays out. It doesn't, once you pull the lever in and let go of the lever, it doesn't let the fluid come back up and let the slave cylinder go ahead and collapse on itself here. So what we're gonna go ahead and do here, we're gonna go ahead and take out this other O-ring. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull this guy out here, pull that snap ring out, and we're gonna clean this whole entire master cylinder. You guys seen the snap ring set before, snap ring plier set before I got from Snap-on. I like it. I think it works really, really well. Gets a little harder when you get to some of the really big snap rings and circlips and stuff. But other than that, I really like it. It has worked very well for everything I needed it to work for. Now this gives me a chance to look down in the barrel of the master cylinder here and just, I could see there's gunk and stuff in there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and take some brake clean. I'm gonna spray out this, spray inside of here, use some compressed air and blow through these orifices and make sure it's all clean. And then we'll make sure all this stuff is cleaned up nice and neat, reassemble it, and then we'll go ahead and take it for another ride and see if that clutch does the same thing or not. All right, so what we got now, we got this little return orifice over here all cleaned out. I ended up using a small piece of wire from one of my wire brushes, pretty common. Sometimes you can use a sewing needle, and poke it down in there. Brake cleaned it, put it in my parts washer, cleaned it all up, blew air through it, checked all the orifices were good. So now that should have no issue with that. We cleaned out the reservoir, cleaned off the spring, the plunger, everything there. So now we're gonna go ahead and reassemble it. I'll install it back on the motorcycle. We'll bleed out the system and we'll take it for another ride. All right, just got back from a ride on the SV. Of course, it runs really, really well. The clutch works phenomenal. No more slipping, no more hard clutch, none of that stuff. There's a multitude of problems when it came to that. The first thing I saw when it came in is that they had some aftermarket cheap levers on it. That's the way they bought the unit from another customer, so it wasn't their problem, but it had no bushing. So I thought, okay, well, when I pull the clutch in, it kind of clicks and holds itself in place a little bit. And I was like, well, that's not good. So let's go on and get some stock levers and put them on there, because some of those, if you don't buy the high-end market ones, those levers usually don't work very well. So I put those on there and I was hopefully that was going to cure his problem. Unfortunately, it didn't cure his problem. I would grab the clutch, of course, and I'd step on it, put it in first gear, and it still went to lurch forward. So I knew there had to be an issue, most likely with the clutch pack, because I checked the fluid running through. There was no air in the line or anything like that. So I ended up draining the coolant in it, draining the oil in the coolant, looking at the clutch, and what they did, they had all the plates in one spot. You know, of course they had in the right order, but the problem was at the end, the very last plate that you put on next to the pressure plate on the outside here, it needs to go one space sideways over into the other finger slots for the clutch basket, for the clutch plates. Stacked the other way, it just wasn't working right. So I put that all back in there. We put the stock springs, brand new stock springs in it. He didn't like how heavy the Barnett springs were, so we put some stock springs back in there. And then I put it all back together, filled up with coolant, filled it up with everything. Fixed the oil drain plug problem. Of course, I retapped that one new, and then we put a new plug in there, a 15 millimeter by a 1.50. But anyways, so when I got back on the bike, I went outside, pushed it out, you know, let it warm up, got on it, grabbed the clutch, stepped on it, and noticed, you know, I was like, all right, sweet, it's not lurching forward. And I went to let go of the clutch, and all of a sudden there was nothing there. I'm like, oh dear gosh, what did I do wrong? Well, go to find out what was happening. I broke the bleeder valve loose on the slave cylinder, and fluid shot out. So that's an indication that, to me, that the return little orifice in the master cylinder was clogged. I've seen that on brakes a lot from bikes that had set, or people haven't changed the fluids in a long time, it clogs that. So I went in there and I drained it and I pumped it all up and stuff like that, and I went for a ride just to double check to make sure. And of course, as soon as it got hot, the lever started getting really, really hard and stiff out here, and you barely had to touch it, and you rev it up and it just shoot up RPMs, wouldn't go anywhere. So you saw we got back, We took the reservoir all apart, cleaned it all out, found that the orifice was clogged with rust and everything else, cleaned it all up really good, rebled the system, went out for another test ride on it, and it works phenomenal. No more issues with the clutch not releasing the fluid back into the reservoir. So basically that slave cylinder would push on the rod, and then it pushed the plates open, but what happened, it wouldn't let the fluid come back up. So it'd keep the plates apart and would start making it slip really bad. So we got those problems cured, guys. If you have brakes that start to lock up and get hard by themselves after you ride it a little bit, it gets warm, or a clutch just starts to slip and the lever gets hard, it's most likely going to be up in the master cylinders and that return orifice up there. So just go ahead and take them apart, clean it up really good. Really simple task to do, and just bleed it all out and give it a shot, see if that works for you. Again, guys, if you have any questions about motorcycles, ATVs or UTVs, feel free to leave a comment down below, or you can shoot me an email at limitlesspowersports78@gmail. You can find me on Facebook, of course, YouTube, and I appreciate you guys' support, so make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications, and drop a comment, man, and a like. It really helps my videos out, helps my channel. I'm trying to grow it. Well, we're just about getting close to 500 subscribers now, which is pretty cool. I know I've been a little slow about getting videos out, but I promise this winter I'll be on it a lot more. I won't be traveling with the race team the rest of the year after these last 2 races. Season's over, so we'll definitely get some more videos out for you guys. And in the future, I do have a few high sun motors I'm going to go ahead and take apart, and we're going to rebuild them, and that way get you guys some education on those things. Again, I'm Kyle with Limitless Power Sports Service Repair, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.